From Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, National Security Council says situation in the Federal Capital Territory and other parts of the country is under control. NNPP presidential candidate makes case for human development as focus of any vibrant democratic government. NCDC cautions Nigerians against non-essential travel to Uganda following Ebola outbreak. And on the international scene, Somalian president appeals for international help for bomb blast victims. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Hour. I am Eugenia Abu. We begin with security. The National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Monguno, says the security situation in the Federal Capital Territory and other parts of the country is under control. The NSA spoke on Monday after an emergency National Security Council meeting convened by President Muhammadu Buhari at State House Abuja. In strong words, Major General Monguno described the advisory as false, insisting that it was irresponsible for anybody to give that signal. Kainde Amodu reports.
It's been 7 to 10 days since travel advisories from the UK and US and other foreign embassies unsettled Nigerians. An initial denial from Information Minister Lai Mohammed had resulted in the US stepping up its warning into a level 4 alert. Members of the National Security Council insist it is not ideal to create panic within the country.
The armed forces, the police and other security agencies are working around the clock to ensure that lives and properties of Nigerians are protected. And so far, there's no cause for alarm, and Nigerians should go about their normal duties.
The message from the Council is that everything is under control and that advisories from the embassies were meant not for Nigerians, but were meant for the foreign nationals.
There's nothing we can do if the U.S. Embassy has gone out to give an advisory to its citizens and it has also affected other people. But what I want you to know is that the advisory was issued to their citizens. As far as we are concerned, our own citizens are not in peril.
Nigerians should actually remain calm. Situation is under control. There is nothing new. And that, as the Minister of Foreign Affairs has said, we will continue. We will continue to engage our partners in the most constructive way.
And even though arrests were made, they are part of ongoing security operations and are not necessarily linked to the advisories.
These organizations have continuously been on their toes. They've continuously engaged other entities, other groups, and this has resulted in arrests of several elements, not necessarily associated with this alert, but with the various cells in different parts of the country.
Though the Council is playing it down, it would seem there was a point of departure between the Nigerian intelligence and security community and its foreign partners.
It's also important not to create panic within the country, as I mentioned earlier. That is the messaging, and so for us to work together, not to defeat the purpose of what we're trying to achieve, which is full security in our country, and for all of us to work towards that with our partners and with ourselves, and not to work at cross purposes.
No matter what manner it was stated, either diplomatically or in strong terms, it is obvious that Nigerian security officials are embarrassed with the impression given that the country is skating on thin ice. They are urging citizens to go back to their normal daily undertakings without fear. From State House Abuja, Kainde Amodu, Trust TV News.
In the meantime, troops of the Nigerian Army have neutralized 7 suspected terrorists in Kaduna State. In a statement, the Director of Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Onyema Nwachukwu, said the troops of 1 division neutralized 4 of the suspected terrorists during a clearance operation conducted at Medaro Kegi Hill, Kusharki and Angwam Madaki in Birnin-Gwari local government. Another fighting patrol team of 1 division also conducted a separate operation along Sabon Birnin Zatake, Ungwan Lima Riyawa and Tugang Madaki General Area, supported by the Nigerian Air Force, and neutralized 3 suspected terrorists who were on the run from Kagi Hill. 2 AK-47 rifles with 2 rounds of 7.62 mm special, 1 automatic pump-action gun with 3 cartridges, 6 Dane guns, 3 locally fabricated pistols with 1 9mm round and 4 motorcycles were recovered by the troops. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, commended the troops for their gallantry and urged them not to relent until terrorism and other criminalities are brought to an end. At least 3 people have been killed in a fresh attack by armed men on Teikem community of Unkebera Gambetiev district in Benue State. Reports say the attack, which happened around 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, left many other residents wounded. The police command's spokesperson, SP Catherine Anene, confirmed the attack but said 2 persons were killed. The Bauchi State chapter of Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria has re-emphasized the need for members at all levels to live in peace with one another, despite the challenges posed by insecurity. Chairman of the association, Sadiq Ibrahim, stated this while briefing journalists in Bauchi after a meeting with full-base stakeholders. Adamu Imam completes that report.
The association urged the media to be objective on issues bothering Fulani herders in Nigeria to avoid clashes with other ethnic nationalities and call on leaders to be fair to all. They noted that Fulbe groups are productive to the Nigerian economy, adding that they are ready to maintain peace irrespective of differences.
The first people I'll call is the media people. The media people to be objective and be balancing their stories when giving out. Then I'll call of our leaders to be objective, to be thorough. You understand? Not to collaborate with the governments and just extorting money without doing it. So the issue of the federal government, not all the federal government. If you say to federal government, what are the states? Nothing. The has nothing to do. It's a zero budgeting in the whole of the federation, from the state federal to the state local government. So we are starting from a 0 budget. By 2023, I'm telling you, I cannot speak of the national, but for Bauchi State, I'm telling you, we will be part and parcel of beneficiaries of government resources.
Thank you. The cattle breeders express hope that the era of neglecting them by the government at various levels will soon be a thing of the past, assuring that Fulbe are now more united than ever before.
Their betterment will continue to fight for our right. We'll continue to live in peace and harmony with any other person. We'll continue to protect and to give government protection. But we will not allow anybody to continue to intimidate or maltreat our people the way it has been done before. And in the last 1 year, I'm happy because they have seen what we have done. That is why you see, without my intention, without my consent, I was only coming. They said the people are waiting for me in the house to welcome me. When I saw it was not only people, it was the whole of Bauchi State. So it's something I am proud.
Ibrahim maintained that since trust is a burden, it was imperative for leaders to gain public confidence among Nigerians. Adami Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
And now to politics. New Nigeria People's Party presidential candidate Rabiu Kwankwaso says human capital development is imperative in building an enduring democratic government capable of addressing challenges of poverty and unemployment. The presidential candidate is among speakers at the 3rd Kwankwasiya Development Foundation Colloquium, who shared the same thoughts on sustainable democracy and good governance in Nigeria. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman reports that resource persons at the forum, mostly from the academia, highlighted the importance of investing in functional education to achieve set objectives.
This year's colloquium, with the theme Democracy and Good Governance in Nigeria, the legacy of Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso draws speakers from the academia who explore the NNPC's presidential candidate's vision of building human capacity for sustainable development.
He might have become oblivious of this in 2014. He was being interviewed about his political views and philosophy. The first thing he discussed about was you govern the people regardless of their religion and you will be just to them.
Emphasizing the need for prioritizing education and boosting entrepreneurship skills, some of the participants say such should constitute a benchmark for leadership recruitment, especially as the nation heads towards another round of election.
In 2019, he sponsored almost 370 students to go and study postgraduate programs in form of masters, in form of PhD degrees, and the other many areas.
I was among the first people to be sponsored. I did my master's degree in Turkey, where I specialized in biomedical engineering, and I am currently pursuing my PhD at Hebei University of Science and Technology, China, where I am specializing in the same field of biomedical engineering.
I pray the Nigerians, especially the elite, those that the kingmakers, then they should not look at themselves or what. Let them look at the poor masses. Let them look at what is Nigeria coming to. Things will be in place. Even their wealth will be safe.
The NNPP presidential candidate Rabiu Musa Konkaso says developing human capital is essential in building a vibrant and productive society.
I felt the best investment for any politician is education. I realized I have few things that I didn't need, and I had to sell almost all things that I didn't directly require for myself to do this scholarship.
As Nigerians go to the poll next year to choose leaders at various levels, politicians take advantage of a gathering like this to sell their ideas on governance. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And still talking politics, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, says his party is yet to formally release his manifesto for the 2023 presidential election. Obi's comment was against the backdrop of a viral document purported as his manifesto. However, in a tweet on Monday, Obi asked the public to disregard the document in circulation, saying that he will personally release his manifesto at the appropriate time. The former Anambra State governor started his campaign on Saturday in Lafia, the Nasarawa state capital, and promised to solve Nigeria's flood challenges as well as ensure the country attains sufficiency in food production if elected in 2023. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has told the Federal High Court in Kano that the senatorial candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC, in Kano Central, Abdul Karim Abdul Salam Zaura, popularly known as AA Zaura, is nowhere to be found for the commencement of his trial. AA Zaura was accused of defrauding a Kuwaiti national of $1.3 million and was bailed for arraignment on Monday after the Court of Appeal quashed the earlier discharge and acquittal judgment and ordered his retrial. However, the defendant was absent in court on Monday, just as he was on October the 14th, the date earlier fixed for the arraignment. Responding to an inquiry by the trial judge, the prosecution counsel, Aisha Habib, who is also the head of legal of EFCC, said the defendant was nowhere to be found and his absence in court was a total disregard to the court. Zara's counsel, Ibrahim Waru, told the court that because they have filed an interlocutory application challenging the jurisdiction of the court, his client does not have to be physically present in court. Meanwhile, the matter has been adjourned to November the 10th. President Muhammadu Buhari has tasked men and officers of the Nigeria Police to use the current security situation to review their strategy for protecting the people. He said that their preparedness would also indicate their capacity to ensure a free and fair election in 2023. Buhari, who spoke Monday during the opening ceremony of the police conference and retreat in Owerri, the Imo State capital, called on them to remain apolitical as the country prepares for the general election. He noted that with the retreat, the police will play a lead agency role in the success of the election. Buhari also reiterated his commitment to ensuring a credible poll, saying his administration will leave a legacy of free, fair, and transparent election. Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State and the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali, both pledged to ensure that the nation's security is improved.
I reaffirm on the global stage that as President, I have set the goal that one of the enduring legacies I would like to leave is to entrench a process of free, fair, transparent, and credible election through which Nigerians elect leaders of their choice.
We shall critically and professionally review the patterns and trends of crimes and undertake a detailed security risk assessment with a view to identifying specific trends that could threaten the security and peaceful conduct of the 2023 general election.
I've remained a relentless advocate of free, fair and peaceful elections in the country. I have always maintained that every election dispute can and should be resolved peacefully through available legal channels, not by violence or by heating up the polity.
President Muhammadu Buhari has traveled out of the country to the United Kingdom for medical checkup. Special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, disclosed this on Monday, saying the president will return to the country in the second week of November. As part of effort geared towards the resumption of operations of the Abuja Mass Rail Transit System, the FCT Minister Mohammed Musa Bello, accompanied by senior officials of the FCT administration, has held a meeting with senior officials of the China Civil Engineering and Construction Corporation, CCECC, at the Operation Control Center of the rail system at Idu, Abuja. Speaking after the meeting, which included an extensive tour of the OCC, the Permanent Secretary of the FCTA, Olushade Adeshola, said that the purpose of the visit was to review the project and determine what actions are to be taken within the shortest possible time to restore the rail system back into operation. On security, the Permanent Secretary said in preparation for the resumption of operations, measures had been put in place to ensure the security of the entire length of the light rail system, in addition to the security that would be provided on board by other government agencies. You're still watching News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break, business owners count losses. Do stay with us.
There is danger looming everywhere, not only affecting us, but affecting the whole country.
Ni at least dai na watsa iri buhu 10 na shinkafa. Ruwan biniyo ya zo ya mamaye, sannan na loddo kuma ya zo ya kara.
Tauta yi asara, Taraba ta yi asara.
Most of the flood we are seeing is a fingerprint of climate change. We are having rainfall uncertainty.
The real person that's supposed to know and avert its effects is left in the doom.
Akwai matsalan abinci a jihar Taraba, amma Najeriya.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
My people,
How do you feel when you see bulldozers demolish beautiful but illegally built private houses, estates, or plazas? Agony and pain. That is exactly what the FCT administration feels also. No responsible government is happy to inflict pain on her people by demolishing any property. Are you planning to acquire a piece of land? Avoid buying land from indigents or local chiefs or any other unauthorized source, as doing so could ruin your valuable investment. Only the Minister of FCT allocates land in Abuja. So, to acquire a piece of land in Abuja, go to the Abuja Geographic Information Systems, popularly known as AGIS, and obtain the relevant application form. Also, visit the FCDA Mass Housing Department to check the genuineness of land title before you acquire any property in any of the housing estates in Abuja. Do the right thing. Don't be a victim. This message is from the Federal Capital Territory Administration.
Thank you for rejoining us. You're still watching News Hour on Trust TV. A recap of our top stories. National Security Council says situation in the Federal Capital Territory and other parts of the country is under control. And the NNPP presidential candidate makes case for human development as focus of any vibrant democratic government. Moving to other stories now, the Nigerian Medical Association says Nigeria has suffered the worst brain drain in the country's history this year. The national president of the Nigerian Medical Association, Uche Ojima, disclosed this at an event in Port Harcourt. Here's that report.
The NMA national president, who was represented by Datunye Alasia, said no fewer than 10,000 doctors have moved from Nigeria to other countries from January to September 2022. Ojima, who said doctors have been neglected, called for the upward review of the salary scheme.
The era of blind loyalty is over. Let us patiently wait to hear the plans of our presidential candidates, and in this case, the gubernatorial candidates, for Nigerian health sector, before pitching a political support tent. On the sub-themes, the issue of progressive depletion of human resource for health, a key pillar of the health system, cannot be overemphasized. The statistics also show that between January 1st, 2022 and September 30, 2022, 1,307 doctors trained in Nigeria were licensed in the UK.
On his part, the state chairman of NMA, Ebby Robinson, called for priority attention for the health sector in the manifestos of politicians come 2023. The keynote speaker, Daprin Tamuno Odremi Ogaji, spoke on the theme of the program, Nigeria's Healthcare Delivery System and the 2023 Democratic Transition, a time to change the narrative.
A time to change the narrative. We want doctors to be taken very seriously in this 2023 dispensation. And we want healthcare to be high in the ladder of the priorities of politicians. And that is why we are ensuring that they come talk to us, interface with us, and doctors will make informed decisions, no matter ethnic, social, political, or religious affiliation. This time, doctors will use their BBC to decide who leads us and who is going to make the rule and regulations for us when it comes to the health. And we are pleased to keep your commitment, we will declare industrial disputes.
We expect that those in government, should ensure that they take heed to this, what we call the 6 basic aspects of good governance. We have not seen that yet in Nigeria and in Rivers State, I make bold to say. And that's the fact that we need to redesign the process of selection, and change of those in authority. We want to see inclusivity in government. We want to see that we resist cronyism and nepotism, which have been the bane of governance, at least in the last decade, in this country and in the state.
The time to change the narrative. The theme is apt and was carefully selected to further have an in-depth review of our health system and its current performance.
The medical doctors noted that the shortage of doctors is exerting a lot of pressure on the remaining manpower and frustrating access to Medicare in the state and at the federal level. They called on the government at all levels to urgently step in to address the worrisome situation which is gradually crippling the health sector.
In the meantime, the Nigerian Medical Association National Committee on Epidemics and Pandemics Awareness has called on governments at all levels to put measures in place to prevent the impending outbreak of epidemics in the aftermath of the devastating flooding across the nation. In a statement made available to journalists on Monday by the chairman, Dr. Abubakar Hassan, and the secretary, Dr. Enejo Joseph, in Lokoja, the NMA National Committee on Epidemics and Pandemics Awareness called on governments to provide potable water to the affected communities as the bodies of water in these areas were heavily polluted and unfit for human consumption. According to the statement, the provision of water purifiers, as announced by the federal government, is a step in the right direction and should be extended to all the affected communities. According to the Nigerian Medical Association, another measure that should be taken is the provision of habitable settlements with insecticide-treated bed nets. Small business owners within the premises of Nigeria's premier tertiary institution, the University of Ibadan, are lamenting what they term the devastating impact of the 8-month industrial action embarked upon by the Lecturers' Union, ASU. They called on all parties to employ other viable means of conflict resolution other than embarking on strike. The report.
Life is gradually returning to normal at Nigeria's premier tertiary institution, the University of Ibadan, as students are returning to school after an 8-month strike by their lecturers. Lecture halls remain shut and the campus is without its usual bustle. Traders on campus say life has not been the same since the strike was called off.
That it may be there is somebody inside air. It's a hair time. It's a serious time. That time, all of us, we are suffering here. Sometimes we are sitting down from morning to the evening. Couldn't see anybody to come and take any passport or come and patronize us.
It's only God that survives us, because without students, there's nothing in this campus. I can't deceive you, because when they will come and sew clothes. Even common amendment, we couldn't see to amend. So, but even that strike itself is worse than Koro.
Florence Anyawu is a food vendor at the popular Melambi Hall. She says the strike ruined her business and left a huge dent in her finances.
The strike affects us so much, too much, because we are only resuming. I just resumed day before yesterday, being on Monday. But when we resume, we find things somehow difficult, but in time goes on, we know that things will change.
The businessmen, especially those people that are typing projects for the students, for the learners, many of them find it difficult because, for instance, there's no students. Because students, the university is selling knowledge. When there's no student, the university is not selling knowledge again. When there's no student, there's no teacher, there's no teaching staff, nothing. So everything just paralyzed.
The 8-month strike also affected many students, as some of them said they had lost interest in academics. The consensus among students is for the government and other critical stakeholders to seek more viable alternatives for resolving industrial disputes outside strikes.
Sexual harassment and other forms of gender-based violence have been described as a social menace that require a holistic approach towards eradicating them. This was the thrust of discussions at the meeting between security agencies, government officials, civil society and other intellectual groups with the aim of increasing awareness and encouraging people to report such cases to appropriate authorities. Bello Musa has more on that story.
Sexual harassment and other forms of gender-based violence meted against women are at alarming rates. They are recorded at motor parks, markets, and other public space. This meeting seeks collaboration among stakeholders to tackle such abuses.
And it has been a very, very serious and terrible social menace issue of gender-based violence at any level and any situation. So I think we welcome this idea and we will give them the possible cooperation and whatever they need so that we have effective operation for this project. And indeed, as you know, Kaduna State has so many interventions concerning the addressing gender-based violence.
Gender-based violence in Kaduna State is an issue we've been battling ever since, and the rate which people are perpetrating it in Kaduna State is alarming, considering recently the COVID-19 endemic, which we saw a rise in increase in GBV in Kaduna State, and stakeholders have been trying to see that we curb this menace minimally.
Civil society groups and other participants believe that the meeting will not only sensitize participants but encourage them to speak against GBV.
Ensure that at the end we have at least an increased percent of men who are speaking up against gender-based violence in these communities. And we also look at increasing the reach and number of persons who are aware of our GBV toll-free helpline, so that people can lodge in complaint, because so far it has been on the low. Not a lot of persons are aware that there is a GBV toll-free helpline. And then again, the third deliverable is to ensure that we strengthen mechanisms.
It will at least curb so many problems that we are having in our garages in terms of violences, especially on women or market women that are selling food or other items.
Although operators of motor parks and other public spaces resolve to get rid of sexual harassment and other forms of gender-based violence, participants believe that this could only be achieved if drivers and motor parks workers are sensitized. From Kaduna, Bello Musa reporting for Trust TV.
And now crunching the figures. According to a report on domestic violence and work status, 1 in every 4 women in Nigeria suffers from domestic violence from loved ones. According to the report published in the University of Ghana, men are also victims, as they also experience acts of violence from their spouses. In this report, Newell Sampson examines the issue of domestic violence from the professional view and gets reactions from Nigerians on the issue. Here's the report.
Domestic violence is often used as a synonym for intimate partner violence, which is committed by one of the people in an intimate relationship against the other person and can take place in a relationship or between former spouse and partners.
Well, domestic violence is everywhere, in every human organization. We are human beings. So, but in Nigeria, let's say the reason why we have it in Nigeria could be because of frustration that people are having, people are being stressed up. So it's neither cultural or religious. It's actually human behavior. Somebody that has not beaten his wife before, or a wife that has not beaten her husband before, can start doing that when that frustration becomes heightened. So economic situation that is getting worse is a major factor.
Advocates who are fighting against this form of human right violation are continually pushing for a stop to this menace that is gradually ruining homes.
We cannot reassure everybody that we would be able to stop the occurrence of domestic violence in the society today. But all the thing that we can do is just to advocate. So what we do is that we teach or we train journalists on how to actually report gender-based violence without stereotyping. Telling the right narrative, and also pushing for justice. Because we are talking about violation of human rights.
Victims of abuse from their spouse are usually not forthcoming when it comes to opening up, especially to the press on cases of abuse. Even they acknowledge its existence in their unions, but we still are able to get reactions from Nigerians.
We discover there are many places, even in our society, in the church, there are many people who are violent about their husbands and also having hatred in between them. But what I understand is that there should be a level of understanding in between.
By providing education in schools about topics related to domestic violence, schools can help prevent the menace and create a culture where aggression and control of intimate partner is no longer a common behavior in the society. Newell Sampson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
At least 13 passengers have died in an accident in Enugu State. The accident occurred on Sunday night along Enugu-Port Harcourt Road near the University of Nigeria Teaching Hospital, Ituku Ozala. According to reports, a 14-seater bus was said to be traveling from Imo State to Adamawa when it ran into a trailer before bursting into flames. While confirming the incident, Enugu State Sector Commander FRSC Joseph Toby, who described it as unfortunate, said the command is yet to ascertain the casualty figure. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, on Monday advised Nigerians and other residents in the nation against embarking on non-essential travel to Uganda for now. The NCDC Director General, Ifedayo Adetifa, gave the advisory in a statement he signed on Monday in Abuja. He stated that the advisory is to enable public health authorities determine how the Ebola outbreak will be contained. As of October the 29th, 2022, the Ugandan Ministry of Health reported 128 confirmed cases of the Ebola virus and 34 deaths. Adetifa cautioned that if traveling to Uganda became essential, travelers should avoid contact with obviously sick persons or suspected cases of Ebola. He said that the Port Health Service of the Federal Ministry of Health had scaled up the screening of passengers returning from Uganda at points of entry. This is Trust TV News Hour. We will be back after this short break. Stay.
This is the road leading up to the Lokoja Bridge from Abuja, and as you can see, tankers carrying fuel, trucks carrying livestock, perishables, and commuters trying to make their way from point A to point B have all been slowed down as a result of the flooding going on in Lokoja.
As I tell you, so my house is inside water like this.
This is my house. Big Breezy is my house.
We have no option than to come here and look for what we chop.
This water have really spoiled many things. Even as I'm talking to you, I'm not in my own house.
I want to encourage them and assure them that their government, the governor they elected, had come to see them, and government officials have been going there to see them. They are not in this alone. We are with them.
You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. We thank you for rejoining us. President Muhammadu Buhari says he is fully in support of the Central Bank of Nigeria's move to redesign the Naira notes. The CBN had last week said it will redesign the 1,500 and 200 Naira notes effective December 1, a development that has elicited mixed reactions. In a statement by media aide to the President, Garba Shehu, the President said he is convinced that the nation will gain a lot by doing so. President Buhari said reasons given to him by the central bank convinced him that the economy stood to benefit from the redesign. Some of the benefits include the reduction in inflation, currency counterfeiting, and the excess cash in circulation. He said he did not consider the period of 3 months for the change to the new notes as being short. He said people with illicit money buried under the soil will have a challenge with the move, but workers, businesses with legitimate incomes will face no difficulties at all. Commuters in Lagos were stranded on Monday as the Joint Drivers Welfare Association of Nigeria commenced a 7-day strike over multiple and excessive extortion by the Parks Management Committee headed by Musiliu Akinsonya, popularly known as MC Oluomo. Members of the group include commercial vehicles, popularly known as Danfos, and many buses, locally known as Korope. There were large crowds at scores of bus stops as commuters jostled for a few available buses, who hiked transport fares by up to 100%, while some commuters gradually paid the high fares to connect to their destinations. Others took to trekking long distances. The situation, coupled with the lingering fuel scarcity, worsened movement in Lagos. 4 international oil companies, IOCs, operating 4 crude export terminals and a gas feedstock paid over 138 billion naira to the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, as petroleum profit tax, company income tax, and education tax for June 2022. This was disclosed in an NNPC Limited payment data, which further stated that 138.556 billion naira was paid to FIRS, with crude oil worth 2.948 million barrels under the NNPC Limited production sharing contract with Shell, Tulja, and ExxonMobil. The crude oil was sold at an average of $119 per barrel, while the revenue was used for the taxes. An unspecified volume of gas amounting to 537,499.96 was also sold and used for the tax payment by Total Energies for gas export in a joint venture with NNPC Limited. The volume of crude oil and gas recorded was only for those sold to offset the worth of taxes for the entire crude oil and gas production for June, which was not specified in the report. As Nigerians in the tech ecosystem still bask in the euphoria of the Startup Act, stakeholders have called on the government to harness potentials in blockchain for economic empowerment and inclusion. The call was made at a press conference organized by Impact Market in Abuja. Christiana Amodu now reports.
The tech ecosystem has continued to evolve globally, and emerging economies have come to the forefront of blockchain adoption, with Nigeria being one of the front runners and leading country in Africa in terms of cryptocurrency adoption interest. According to a survey conducted by Statista, 32% of Nigerians have been admitted to using or owning cryptocurrency. Now, it is against this backdrop that the sector enthusiasts have harped on harnessing the potentials inherent in the sector to develop Nigeria's financial system.
The potential that blockchain technology has in solving some of the world's biggest problems is still very much underestimated. Blockchain has the potential to radically change many social sectors and foster open innovation and economic progress. A report drafted by the Enhancing Financial Innovation and Access offers an optimistic outlook on the potential of blockchain adoption in Nigeria. The report states that by 2030, the blockchain industry can increase Nigeria's gross domestic product by $29 billion.
Players in the sector further enumerated the benefits of blockchain to Nigeria's road to economic prosperity.
Blockchain, as by its sheer nature, underlines within its design cybersecurity embedded. You know, one of the critical features for blockchain is actually security. And, you know, the understanding is not out there as much as it should be.
If you look at different kind of solutions, that's, you know, different kind of infrastructure that can be built on, you know, blockchain protocols, you realize that it is something that is even more for countries like Nigeria, Africans generally, like, because we have kind of like more, you know, less of financial inclusion when we compare to other continents.
The group's report further revealed that over 7,000 Nigerians have benefited across the country with access to more income, improved businesses, and standard of livelihood, which in a ripple effect add value to the nation's economy. Christiana Amodu Utinya, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Understanding blockchain for economic development. Time now to join Chiamaka Nwafor for more in business.
Twitter will soon start charging verified users $19.99, an equivalent of 8,716 naira per month for the blue check mark verifying the authenticity of an account. The blue verified badge on Twitter lets people know that an account of public interest is authentic. To qualify, accounts must be notable, authentic, and active. This includes accounts of government officials, people representing prominent brands, news organizations, journalists, activists, celebrities, athletes, and others. The development comes just days after Elon Musk, the billionaire founder of Tesla Incorporated, completed his takeover of Twitter. According to The Verge, a news website, Twitter accounts that already have the verification will have to comply with this new mechanism and pay up for the blue badge. It said verified users would have 90 days to subscribe or lose their blue check mark. Finally, in the stocks, the equity market on Monday closed on a bearish note as the all-share index dropped by 1.95% to settle at 43,912.64 points from the previous close of 44,788.14 points. The market capitalization declined by 1.95% to close at 23.918 trillion naira from the previous close of 24.395 trillion naira, thereby shedding 477 billion naira. The market breadth closed negative as 8 equities appreciated in their share prices against 19 equities that declined in their share prices. An aggregate of 161 million units of shares were traded in 4,258 deals valued at 3.47 billion naira. And that's it on Business News. I am Chiamaka Nwafor.
Thank you, Chiamaka, for bringing us up to date. We'll take another break now. When we return, foreign news. This is Trust TV News Hour. Thank you for staying with us. And now to the foreign scene. Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud has issued an urgent plea for international help for wounded victims of devastating car bombings at the weekend, which claimed the lives of over 100 people. The government put out an appeal for blood donations, with dozens of people gathered outside hospitals in the capital Mogadishu seeking news of family members. Bulldozers are continuing to clear the blast site in the capital Mogadishu on Monday in the search for bodies feared trapped under the rubble. Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility for the attacks, saying its fighters were targeting the Ministry of Education. And in the Philippines, rescuers on Monday waded through thigh-deep mud using long pieces of wood to search for bodies buried by landslide, as the death toll from a powerful storm rose to 98. The National Disaster Agency has recorded 63 people still missing and scores of others injured. Just over half of the fatalities were from a series of flash floods and landslides unleashed by Tropical Storm Nalgae, which destroyed villages on the southern island of Mindanao on Friday. Mindanao is rarely hit by the 20 or so typhoons that strike the Philippines each year, but storms that do reach the region tend to be deadlier than in Luzon and the central parts of the country. There's little hope of finding survivors in the worst hit areas after the storm swept across the archipelago nation, inundating communities in and around the capital, Manila, over the weekend. Meanwhile, President Ferdinand Marcos began touring some of the hard-hit areas on Monday, including Noveleta, as aid agencies rushed food packs, drinking water, and other relief to victims. In sports now, ahead of the first leg of the Confederation Cup playoff, the opponent of Nigeria's representative, Rivers United, Al Nassr of Libya, have arrived in the country. Rivers United started their campaign in the Champions League but had to drop to the Confederation Cup after losing out to Wydad Casablanca of Morocco in the final qualifier of the competition. They were drawn against Libyan side Al Nassr in the playoffs of the competition. The Libyan side touched down in Abuja on Sunday afternoon and are expected to proceed to Port Harcourt. The game will take place on Wednesday at the Adoke Amasiamaka Stadium. And with that, we have come to the end of Trust TV News Hour, and don't forget to follow us across all our media platforms. My name is Eugenia Abu. We thank you for staying with us.